to learn how to be a life coach. And I found you on the internet the other day, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity that you're affording me to taking this life coach training course. Thank you.
That's awesome. Cheryl, where are you joining us from?
From Virginia.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
And if you're just joining us, what we're doing really quick as we're getting started, just hearing from you guys. Love to find out what your name is, where you're joining us from, and maybe something really quick that you're really excited about right now. So I want to give you that opportunity real quick just to introduce yourself, and immediately following that, we're going to jump into the workshop for today. I'll add one more thing. If you're just joining us, there's a chat widget. So if you are at work or for some reason your microphone won't work or you can't use your microphone, use that chat widget and we'll be responsive to that as well. Okay. So here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to mute everybody really quickly just so that we're not getting any background noise or anything. Let me say this on the front end. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. It means so much to me to be able to be a part of your step into breaking into the field of coaching. Many of you are working full-time, and I'd say probably 98% of our students in LCTI are working full-time, and probably most of them are easily over the age of 40. Most of you probably didn't know that the average coach is starting around age 46. So most of us had a previous career and we're breaking into coaching, and for some of us it's a little bit nerve-wracking because we feel like we're untested, but at the same time we feel like we've got a life experience of speaking into people's lives and helping them remove barriers. Those are great indicators for becoming a coach. And I just want you to know that I appreciate your boldness, your willingness, your participation in this, and allowing me to speak into your life in this area of your life, at least for the next like 30, 45 minutes. And here's what the workshop is today. The workshop today is the 4 keys to successfully setting appointments with potential clients. That's what we're going to cover with the content. There is a lot of content. We're going to get through all of it. What we're going to do is I'm going to cover this content, and afterwards I'm going to open it up for questions. What you can do is you can use the chat widget to ask your questions, or you can ask them live as soon as the presentation is over with. This is going to be ready to go solutions to help open the door so that you're much more successful at setting appointments. And the thing about setting appointments is that there's really an art to it that most people don't realize, that there are some key things that you do, and that's what we're going to show during this time. If for some reason you have to leave early, or if you have problems with your internet, or any number of things that could possibly pop up during this time, what I want you to know is that we are recording this session. We can send you a link to the archive. All you need to do is send me an email to Paul, P-A-U-L, don't forget the I, Paul at ilifecoachtraining.com. So Paul at ilifetraining.com. I'm going to stick that in the chat widget for those of you who are able to see it, and make sure that I don't misspell it, because that would be terrible. ilifecoachtraining.com. So if you'd like, you can send me an email. Here's the other thing, is that I'm going to offer a 35% discount to the people who are listening to this thing as well. So if you're interested in either one of those, the archive, for some reason you're not able to take notes because I talk too fast, just send me an email. I'll make sure that you have that content forever, and you can utilize it. So without any further delay, let's jump in here, okay? I'm going to turn my webcam off, especially for your benefit, because it'll help you with your internet connection as well. So let's jump in. Your target in what you're doing, 75, 80% of your work as a coach, at least in your coaching practice, is simply just to get an appointment. That's 75 to 80% of your work. That's what you spend your time on. And the thing that's really important for us when it comes to our business and acquiring clients is to have a target, because you wouldn't believe the number of people that you meet at any level of their life, whether it be their business, their job, their personal development, their family, whatever. Most people don't have an end game. Most people don't have a real clear goal that they're going after, a clear target. Let me tell you this, is that your clear target for acquiring clients is just setting up an appointment. And we do a lot in our Jumpstart program to help people position themselves by building their personal brand, discovering their niche, building a brand, and we work with our students a lot to help them get to this point. But the thing is that you always have to ask. You have to actually set an appointment to get a client. And when you know what your target is, it keeps you from doing things that you're not supposed to be doing in the appointment setting phase. Because here's the deal, and I want to encourage you with this. Your goal, and this simplifies life for you, if you know your goal is just to set an appointment in everything that you're doing and going out and networking and meeting people and all those other things, it keeps you from doing things that are not part of your goal. You know what your goal is, it keeps you from saying and doing the wrong thing. Here's what I can encourage you as a coach. If you can just get someone sitting across from you, and you will use your skills of listening and asking probing questions, people will see what you have to offer and they will want to work with you. You have to count on the fact that this process, coaching actually works. It actually really helps people, and you can do this thing. And we trust the process, that I don't need to do a lot of other things. I just need to get somebody in front of me. And if I can get someone in front of me for 30 to 60 minutes of a coaching session, then they will know what I have to offer them and they will want to work with me. So here's what you don't want to do in setting a coaching appointment. In this whole phase, it's not to explain what coaching is. The reality is that people don't know what coaching is, and trying to explain what coaching is without an actual experience of it is not going to be helpful to them. Trying to explain what counseling is versus coaching, mentoring is versus coaching, none of that stuff is helpful for people. What they need is an experience, and that's what they're lacking. So don't try to explain to people what coaching is. Second thing is, it's in this phase, it's not to try to sell coaching. I'm not trying to get salesy, and I'm not trying to get into a sales presentation about what coaching does for people or any of those other things. I'm simply trying to get this person in front of me in a coaching situation, which adds to this is my goal is not to informally coach someone on the spot. A lot of times people, when they're talking to people, especially coaches, will feel like I have the need to start coaching someone right now. I need to give them what this feels like. I want to start asking questions and all of these other things. That's not what you want to do during that time, because you can't effectively do it there, and you're going to wear yourself out. Which, here's the thing, is that if you coach someone on the spot, or try to, let's say you're in a networking meeting, or you meet somebody out, or you're on the phone, someone calls you and they're interested, and you tried to do that. They don't have a reason to meet with you later because they think that they already got what you have. And you know that they didn't get what you have yet. You just spent a little bit of time talking about it. So these are the big three on the front end of what not to do. Don't explain what coaching is, don't try to sell coaching, and don't informally try to coach someone on the spot. Okay, so we're protecting what we do. So what are the keys? The keys that we're going to cover, the four big keys, are really this. Number one, we're going to build the value of who we are and the service that we provide. That's going to be key number one to being successful at setting an appointment. We're going to communicate this in our language, and that's what I'm going to show you during this time. Number two is that you're going to set a hopeful expectation of the benefit the client is going to receive from that meeting. You're going to answer the question, what's in it for me? Number three is really important. Pre-qualify the potential client so that you don't waste your time and you don't waste their time. And the fourth key that we're going to cover during this time is that what we're going to do is eliminate cancellations, reschedules, and no-shows. Okay? All right, so let's jump in. Key number one, build your value. And this is an important thing that I often will tell people. Do not set up appointments to chat about what coaching would look like. This is a really big problem that I see a lot of coaches doing. Hey, I'd like to get together with you for coffee so that we can chat about what a coaching relationship would look like. Well, what does chat really sound like? Because the reality is that as a coach, your time is your commodity. Your time is what you sell to people as a coach. You sell your time and you sell your skills, and that's what people can really understand. So why would you give away your time to a chat, an informal chat about something? And I think that in a lot of cases, and especially in the U.S., because I know some of our students, 30% of our students are international. So bear with us if I say something that sounds a little like what Americans do. But in the United States, a lot of times we want to eliminate some of the formality, and we want to feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more connected to someone by using the word chat, because it feels fuzzy and it feels friendly. But the truth of the matter is that you don't have time for a chat. You're a business person, and they don't have time for a chat. And so the thing is, as we're starting here, is that you have to understand that why would, and think about it from their perspective. Why, if your time is valuable, would you give it away for free in a chat? It doesn't really compute. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And the thing that you need to understand is that chats get canceled because there is no perceived value about having a chat with you. If you are not in a romantic relationship, if you are not in a close friend relationship with someone, people will not value a chat with a coach. They will not value a chat with someone who's potentially looking to do business with them. And so this is a really important thing for you to get, is that it's the perception that you've given them when you say chat is this person has all kinds of free time. They must not have clients. This person has all kinds of free time that they're just giving away to people. They have a lot of free time just to chat about things. Chats get canceled, so that's why we're not going to use it. Chats have no value to them. And so what we have to do is that we have to make sure the potential client knows that your time is valuable, it's a commodity, and it is scarce. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, let me talk about it on 3 levels. First of all, think about if you were going to work with a doctor. Let's say that you had something wrong with your stomach, you had some kind of an ailment. You'd never call a doctor to set up an appointment to chat with them about what it would look like if you were their patient. And a doctor would never call you for a chat to say, let's have a chat about what it would mean if I was your primary care. We would never do that. Why? Because we understand that a doctor, he has valuable time. They are an important person. And so because we value their skill and we value their time, we make sure that we schedule appointments with them and that we are on time with their appointment, or we get there 15 minutes early, and they can actually show up late because we value them so much, and they actually get paid a premium. So it's the exact same thing for you as a business person. You have to think of yourself in that kind of a way. My time is important. And if you have enough cancellations, if you have enough appointments that aren't getting set, or that that fall through or whatever, then you start to realize that my time really is important. My time I need my time to directly impact my income. I need to do every activity that I do in my business has to be an income producing activity. So how do we make sure that the client realizes that our time is valuable, that we are a commodity and it's scarce? Well, here's how we do that. And I'm going to kill my webcam again. Here's how we do that. First of all, what we do in that is that we use it in the way that it's all about in the way that we communicate who we are and what we do. What I say is an example. I'm going to give you a really quick example. We'll actually put it on the screen for you. Is an example of what we would say to communicate these things is, I'm really busy over the next couple of weeks, but I'm willing to carve out some of my time to schedule to schedule some time to spend with you. You know, I'm really busy over the next couple of weeks, but I'm willing to carve out some time out of my schedule to spend with you. What are we communicating when you see these words? We're communicating three things. One, I'm busy. I'm important. I'm in demand. They need to know that something is going on, that you don't just have free time. And so you're communicating that in this sentence. You're also communicating that my time is scarce. And scarcity ups the ante on any product that's out there in the marketplace. I mean, what do? We just came out of President's Day weekend. So they had President's Day weekend sales. What does that mean? It's only going to be available for that limited amount of time. When a band gets back together, and I remember like back in 1996, I think it was in 1996, I grew up always being a Kiss fan. I'm in my 40s, but I grew up always thinking that they were really cool when they had the makeup on. And they took it off and then they broke up and everything. Well, in 1996, they got the original members back and they put the makeup back on to go on tour. And I paid a ridiculous amount of money that I couldn't afford to go see them because I thought this is going to be my one and only chance to see them again, to see the original guys and to see them like I remembered them years ago. Scarcity upped the ante. It upped the value of the product and it upped the value of what I was willing to pay and sacrifice for that. And so when we show people that our time is scarce, they will immediately value our time much more than they would have. Here's the next thing, is that it also communicates that you matter. You, the potential client, matter because I am a busy person. My time is valuable. I help people. I'm a significant person, but I'm also communicating that you are significant and I'm willing to cut time out of my schedule, maybe to even give you a free session to spend with me. And as a result, what happens is that when that value is really high, it makes people not want to miss the session. I mean, think about it again. If somebody called you and said, hey, I'm going to bring you to your favorite restaurant and, you know, and it's somebody that you don't get to see very often and their time's really scarce, but they're going to buy you lunch, you're not going to miss that appointment. You're going to be like, man, there's no way that I'm going to miss this because I don't know when I'm going to have the chance for this. And this person's bringing something of value to me, which brings me to the next key. Key number 2 is this, is that we have got to set the expectation for every one of our coaching meetings. I said a while ago, don't set up chats to talk about coaching because chats set a low level of expectation. But what we need to do is we need to actually set a level of expectation for a couple of reasons. One is that they need to know that this is not just a casual chat. I don't want to bring somebody into a meeting and then flip it around and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, now this person's trying to sell me, or now this person's trying to turn this into something serious. I thought that we were just trying to get coffee. I want to make sure that when the person goes to this meeting, they know what they're going to get. Maybe I will buy coffee for this person, but this is not just about drinking coffee, and this is not just about something that's casual. I'm not trying to do a bait and switch on people. The next thing, though, is that they need to know, in setting the expectation, they need to know what they're actually going to get, and that they're going to get something that is valuable. Now, for us, we have to understand, in thinking through their lens, looking through their lens, is that these people are not just meeting with you just to meet with you. They're asking the question, listen, I don't have a lot of free time. This needs to have something of value. It must have to have some kind of meaning and significance. What's in it for me? And we don't like to think that people think like that, but people do it all the time. They're always making decisions on their life, going through that lens. What's in it for me? So what we're doing is that we are also setting an expectation, because they are much more likely to keep the appointment when it's not just generic talk about coaching. Most people don't know what coaching is, And you simply can't explain what coaching is. You have to show it to them. It's an experience. So here's what we're going to communicate instead. We're not going to set up coaching chats. What we're going to set up is powerful coaching experiences with the client. So let me recap again. We communicate things that build the value of who we are, because our time is valuable. Now what we're doing is we're revealing the benefit to the potential client by communicating what they can expect. So here's how we would phrase that. Hey, I'm really busy over the next couple of weeks, but I'm willing to carve out some time out of my schedule to spend with you to give you a powerful coaching experience. And I can ask you, for everybody who's listening to this, what would you rather? Would you rather have a chat to talk about coaching, or would you rather a powerful coaching experience? See, for me, it's a no-brainer. You know, I want the powerful coaching experience because I can have coffee anytime. I can have coffee by myself. What people want is they need that question asked of, what's in it for me? Set an expectation. This is not just a casual chat. This is not just getting coffee. This is going to be a powerful coaching experience. And see, a lot of coaches are afraid to say things like that because you're talking in terms of benefit and value, and a lot of coaches don't know how to talk in that way. And as a result, they keep setting up chats, they keep lowering the value of what they're bringing, and what happens is that people always cancel those things. They don't stick around. There's not enough motivation. These are the kinds of things that we have to practice saying. And you can see all of these things represented in this question. If you read it one more time with me, I'm really busy over the next couple of weeks. Scarcity, value, but I'm willing to carve out some time out of my schedule. What am I saying? I am here for you. You matter. I am willing to set time aside because I think that you're a person that's valuable. And I'm going to give you, I'm setting the expectation, I'm going to give you a powerful coaching experience. There's no question as to what this appointment is about. Now, here's the next key. Key number 3 is to pre-qualify the potential client. And I said this a while ago, but you know, the longer you coach, the more you're going to realize that your time is really valuable. And what happens sometimes in this appointment setting phase is that sometimes you will find that you are sitting down too often with unqualified clients. And I know that sounds terrible, but I'll give you an example. When I first started my business, I had put together, and we talked about this in the coaching part-time while you're still working full-time workshop. So if you ever want to listen, that we're going to do that and again next week. But I remember I had that initial list of 100 people, and I had 15 coaching clients that were potential clients that I sat down with, and most of them were not qualified clients, meaning they were not people who were in my target market, and they were not people who are looking for a coach or coachable or any of those kinds of things. And I realized very early on that I could not waste my valuable time, and I could not waste their time with something that they were never going to use, and something that was never going to be beneficial, because it's all, in many cases, some people are coachable, but the timing is not right, and there's a lot of other factors. So what we have to do when we're setting up appointments is we have to actually ask pre-qualifying questions. And here's some examples of what those pre-qualifying questions are. Because what we have to do is that we have to confirm that they really are our ideal coaching client before we ever meet with them. So here are the pre-qualifying questions. Number one is this. Number one is, do you know what you want? And some people don't, which means that sometimes the timing's not going to be right. The other thing is that sometimes you'll also find that the timing's not right. You'll also find that, you know, they just weren't the kind of people that you're going to work with. They're not in the right niche, or maybe you're not right for them, or something like that. But here's what we find in this. We need to find out if they know what they want. Because if they know what they want, there's probably a bigger shot that they're going to become a client now. Now, the thing is that sometimes people don't know what they want, and part of the coaching relationship is helping them seize that and figure it out. But it's an important question. Do you know what you want? Are they specific? Do they have a target in mind? Do they have a clear goal that they are after? Number two, the second question that you're going to ask them is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how critical is it that you do something right now? Now, here's what I was going back to what I was saying just a moment ago, is a coaching relationship is born out of, first of all, someone having a need. And that need is going to be a pain point, or it's going to be some kind of a desire. There's some kind of pain that they need to deal with, that they haven't confronted this barrier and they need to get over it, or there's some kind of desire. There's something bigger that they're wanting out of life. So it's always going to be a pain pleasure kind of principle. I need to be in enough pain to do something about this. That's really what we're saying. And if somebody is lower than the number 8, they may not be ready to be coached right now. Change is hard. Going after some of these things that people say that they want in their life, and for some reason it's stuck around for years and years, there's a reason, because they haven't been willing to pay the price and to deal with the pain or confront it in any kind of way. So it's very possible, and I'll tell you, I met with a potential client last year, a guy in his 60s who owns a marketing firm, and he doesn't have any kids, but he's thinking about legacy and some of the things that he needs to do. And I remember sitting down with him and asking this question, because the reality is that up to now, for some reason, he hadn't done anything. And now he's in his 60s, and he still walked out of that appointment saying, I'm just not ready yet. I don't think I'm ready yet. And I'm thinking, dude, how many more years do you have left before you're going to be ready for this thing? That's the way that I think. I didn't say that to them, because the reality is that this guy's not going to work with any coach. He's not ready to confront it. So everything has to come into alignment, because sometimes they will know what they want, and sometimes they will believe that you can actually help them, but they're just not ready. And that's the situation for me with this gentleman. He believed that I could help him, and I asked that question. I'm like, do you believe that I can help you get there? That's actually pre-qualifying question number 3. On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to working with a coach? This is probably what you'll ask in the appointment setting phase. I'll actually make it very personal for me. I'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe that I can help you get there? I'm looking for a number of 8 or higher on that as well. 7's not bad. 6 is kind of low. But these are pre-qualifying questions, because I need to know that this person's serious and that they're ready to do something, and I need them to believe that coaching can actually help them, that they are committed to working with a coach. And here's the 4th question that goes along with all of this, and it ties it up. Is this something that you have a budget for the next 90 days? Now, some people ask me, how long do you work with clients, and those kinds of questions? Well, here's the thing, is that I don't like to make things long and drawn out, and I don't like to make a client think that they need me for the rest of their life. We're dealing with people who have a certain degree of wholeness. This is not counseling. I'm working with someone who has a certain degree of wholeness in their life, and they're trying to make future steps. And we're helping them confront barriers, because out of their wholeness, they can take steps now. But I also don't want to work with somebody, for me personally, I'm not really interested in working with somebody for years, and I don't want a potential client thinking that this is going to take years to get where they want to go. I don't want to be in a dependent relationship in that kind of way. But I also need this person to know, especially in American culture, everybody thinks that things are going to happen like that. They're going to go to an overnight thing, they're going to go to a one-time seminar, and it's going to change their life. And all of us who are listening right now, anybody who's been alive for any number of years on the planet, know that change in a human being does not happen overnight. So I'm at least going to tell them that this is at minimum going to be a 3-month process. What I want them to know is that this is going to actually cost them something, and I want them to start thinking about the cost, and I want them to start thinking about, this is something that I need to put in my budget and I need to make a place for. And so And so this is a really important conversation that you really need to have on the front end, because I do have coaches every now and then that come to me and they say, people want this for free. Well, why do they want it for free? For one, I'll tell you this, in your conversations in the front end, they wanted it for free because you didn't raise the value of yourself. They wanted it for free because you haven't shown the benefit of yourself, and they think that they can just get something for free so when there's not a value for something, they won't pay for it. So those people really, in most cases, in a lot of cases, are not even potential clients because they're looking for freebies. So what we're doing in these 4 questions is that we're clarifying things so that when I get into that appointment, I actually use these pre-qualifying questions again. I'll remind them of them. I'll rephrase them again, but I want them to think about, I want you to come to a decision about working with me. And I will ask those things again at the very end of the conversation. If they had an explosive session, which I'll say this in Jumpstart, one of the modules, we show you just how to have an explosive coaching session in 1 hour, that you can bring people through such a dynamic process that they will walk out of there with clarity, and they will walk away with action steps that they will see the benefit and value that you bring in just 1 session. We actually show you how to do that. We actually have like a session, a setup kind of dramatized session so that you can see how we use those tools, and we use some really simple tools to help people get there. But these are the 4 pre-qualifying questions that we ask before we ever meet with someone. Now, do I still meet with somebody even if their numbers are not at 8? That's something for you to think about. It really depends on your schedule right now. There are some times that you will have a coaching session with someone and the timing is not right now, and you know it's not, but it may be right 3 months later. And I've had some clients who are like that. I've had some clients that it took them a year, year and a half later before they worked with me, or a couple of years later. And some of those people that I coached never became clients, but they opened the door for me to work with other people. So there is value in sitting down with people, but what I want you to understand is that if you want to have successful appointments, these are the ways that you do it. Ask the pre-qualifying questions so that you know that you're not going to have an appointment with someone who's never going to work with a coach, who doesn't see any value in it or anything else, okay? So let's go to the next key. The next key is to eliminate cancellations, reschedules, and no-shows. And obviously, everything that we're doing in this process should be helping with this. But what I do is I want to make sure that I get the appointment nailed down. What do I mean by that? If I have a potential client in front of me or on the phone, I'm not going to wait to check back with them in a few days of when is a good time to schedule an appointment. I want to get them right then and there while they are in front of me. So I'm going to actually ask them right there while they're in front of me. I'm going to say, hey, let's look at our schedules right now. I have some time next Thursday. What does Thursday look like for you? I'm asking them to get their calendar out and commit right then. I do not want them to check later. I want a smartphone out, and I want to text invite, or I want us to synchronize our calendars right there in that moment. See, this is a really important move because timing is everything in this. And what happens is that sometimes when we have somebody in that moment that they're actually engaged in who we are, that they're emotionally engaged, they're mentally engaged in what we're talking about, a lot of times what people will do is that they will wait until later, maybe 3 days later, to get back to them. Well, let me get your business card and I'll get back with you. Well, here's the problem with that, is that you missed the moment when they were most emotionally and mentally engaged. They're seeing who you are, because sometimes you're meeting these people for the first time. They're seeing who you are. You're an important person right then in that moment. There are no other distractions. There is nothing else going on. And if you wait 3 or 4 days or a week or 2 weeks, you can't get that emotional state back. You can't get them completely undistracted again. You had them in the palm of your hand only in that moment. So that's why you act. Because if you try to check in with them later, days later, week later, what's going to happen is is that you're not a priority for them anymore, and probably that part in their life is not a priority in that moment. So they'll just kind of blow it off, because that's kind of what people do. Jump in on it immediately. If you've got a phone out there on you, then that's the time to bring this thing out, and immediately, let me get your cell right now. I'm going to text right now. Get out your calendar. And a lot of people are on Google Calendar. I'm going to send you an invite right now. Hey, did you get that invite? Make sure they got it. Okay, accept the invite. Okay, we're all set. And then what I do after that is that I make sure that I actually follow up with them on the appointment. You know, what I'm going to do is that, a day or two before, I'm not going to assume that they remembered, but I'm going to send them an email, I'm going to send them a text, or I'm going to call them just to make sure. 24 hours in advance, I'm going to call just to make sure that we're still on and we're clear of where we're going to be meeting. Okay, hugely important. And here's the last thing that we're going to say. This is a bonus on top of the 4 keys that we just talked about. I want to encourage you to stay away from talking about fees before the meeting. Talking about fees before that meeting just creates an uphill climb that we really don't need before we have a meeting with someone. And here's why I would say that. Because I think that sometimes, and I have had people who have called me, they've went on my website, they don't really know who I am or really what I do. And when they got me on in the conversation, they wanted to talk about fees and how much this is going to cost them. Well, it's a terrible way to start. For one, because I feel like there's all of the salesmanship that I need to go in, or I need to say something before it's time, and I'm going to price them out. I don't want to go through that emotional roller coaster. I don't want those emotional calisthenics as far as our relationship is concerned. I'm also doubtful that someone who calls me and asks about fees on the front end, because I don't publish them on my website, I'm also doubtful about those people being potentially coachable, because if somebody's just, calling around, and because this is what happens, a lot of people are on Yelp. Some people from Yelp have contacted me asking me to run ads and do different things. My clients are not on Yelp. They're not looking for cut rate deals, and they're also not people who are looking for a freebie session in most cases. Because that's what happened to me a couple of times before, where I had people who I was offering a freebie session on this thing, and I didn't pre-qualify them, and that's all they wanted was a freebie session with a great coach. And so these are things that we have to try to navigate. And so I never want to talk about fees, because for some of those people who are asking about fees on the front end, sometimes it's because they're not really serious. And if they're shopping price, then they're probably not my client. Second thing that I would say is that sometimes people are checking in on fees to not embarrass themselves, to make sure that they are not getting into something over their head. And I'm just going to encourage you to stay away from the conversation. And here's why. The simple reason why you're going to stay away from the conversation is because what we do as coaches, we want to give them a powerful coaching experience. When they have a powerful coaching experience, we don't have to sell them on the value of what we bring to the table. But if they've never experienced coaching, and especially your coaching, then they don't even know if it's valuable. So if you tell somebody, yeah, I'm $150 a session, they might be thinking, dude, this person's $150 a session. They may actually even cancel the appointment with you. They might set it with you initially, start thinking about the money, and then call you up later and just cancel with you, and are too embarrassed to say, well, I can't really afford that right now, or whatever. Here's the thing. It's because they haven't experienced what value you have to bring. They need to see the benefits, and they need to have a coaching experience, and then pricing can be talked about later. So avoid that at all costs. It's not that we're being inauthentic, and we're not, and it's not that we're not being real. It's that we understand the cost that is involved in the setting appointment phase. It can really hurt us and keep us from being able to move forward with it. So that is the end of the presentation for now. So here's what we're going to do with the rest of our time. And we've got plenty of time right now. Do you guys have any questions? And I'm going to make every question fair game. We don't have to just limit this to questions about setting appointments. You can really ask us any questions that you have about coaching and everything. But let me throw this one last thing at you. Again, if you want the archive of this, just send me an email, paul@ilifecoachtraining.com. Paul, P-A-U-L, don't forget the ilifecoachtraining.com. I'll send you a link, and you can watch it later. If you missed anything, you missed moments or whatever, and you want to review, I can send that to you. Secondly, if you're interested in a 35% discount, for those of you who have listened on this, I know that you're really serious about this, and these are real steps forward, and we want to make it that much simpler. There's two ways to get certified through Life Coach Training Institute. One is just taking the Life Coach certification course and taking the exam, and you're done. Some of you are in the free course, and in the free course, what that allows you to do is add the exam later. So the course content is identical. The difference is the testing. That is really the difference between Life Coach Training course and Life Coach certification course. The other way to get certified is through Jumpstart. Jumpstart includes the Life Coach certification course, but it also includes the 20-module business development roadmap. There are training videos that show you everything A to Z, how to attract clients, how to develop your personal brand, how to sell, how to close, how to answer objections. All of those things are included, 20 modules, and each one has a business development tool. We also have a group coaching call for the people who are in that program. It's every Wednesday. If you miss a call, you can send an email, ask your question. We always archive those things for our students, and we have about a year's worth of coaching calls that are already in the archive that you can go, and every one of them have details on it, on what question was asked and where in the video you can find it. Also, it has an online coaching community, so our students can role play. They just contact one another and they role play. They can share their success stories, feedback, what they're working on, business cards, and different things that they're doing in their businesses. All of those things, all of those come together in Jumpstart. And we're offering 35% off on those. That would mean that the $195 normal certification price drops to $127, and it also means that our regular $100 a month or $99 a month Jumpstart program drops to $65. And so those are the options. So with no further delay, let's get your questions, and I'll be here for as long as you guys need me to be. And I'm going to unmute everyone. So that you'll be able to ask questions. I'm going to look through our awesome. All right. What questions do you guys have for us this week? And you'll need to unmute yourself if you're muted currently.
Okay, I'm Cheryl, and I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. That last meeting that you was talking about, sitting down with the client face to face, so when do you actually discuss, is there a fee for that particular meeting, or is it that you're just sitting down talking with them, not chatting, but having a powerful experience with them, coaching experience with them? Do you get paid for the first one, or is it how does that work?
This is totally going to be a preference for you and your business. There's many coaches that do complimentary sessions, free sessions to work with someone. There are also some coaches that I know that are at a certain level, and they're pretty full as far as their client list is concerned, and they never do free first sessions. So I've seen it both ways. I guess it really depends on where you're at in your business, and if a free session takes you a step closer to closing a client. And for me, I'd say I use that free session a lot, but I did do the pre-qualifying on the front end to make sure that I'm not sitting down with somebody who's never going to work with a coach. And but I figured if I can ask those questions, because it's strategic as well for the coaching meeting. When I have those 4 pre-qualifying questions and I get into the meeting with them and they say, on a scale of 1 to 10, an 8, oh, I'm in pain, I'm ready to do something. If they say and I will rephrase it, and I'll say it before and after that session. I will look them dead in the eye, and I'll say, this is what you want, and you feel like right now it's urgent that you do something. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that I can help you get there? Are you um, are you locked in? Are you convinced that I'm a person who can help you get there? I've never actually had anyone tell me no. They've had doubts about themselves. They've never had doubts about me. And when I ask that question, what I am doing is I am crossing off the objections that anyone would have of, you're saying it's this urgent, you're saying you know what you want, and you're saying you believe that I can help you. It's never about the money. So when we get to the fees part, what I say, what we talk about at that point, this is after the session is over with, and they have made a commitment. They already know that in the next, they're willing to make a commitment over the next 3 months or something like that, because that's usually how I'll start my contract. I will talk to them about fees after the session is over with. But they've had the value built really high, and I'm reaffirming the same questions. We've brought the client, potential client, to a point where they're saying that the only thing that we have left to talk about is fees, because I'm ready to do this and you're my person. And so once we get to that point, then we can talk about fees. And when we get to fees, then we figure out what can work and what fits in the budget for the next 3 months. What are you willing to allocate in your budget? What are you willing to move around? Because it is a sacrifice, for people to work with us. It needs to cost them something. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that in free coaching never translates into results for people. Free coaching never translates into change. There always has to be skin in the game. We find that for everything that we value in life, we've somehow paid a price to have it. And if we won't pay a price for it, then we don't value it. You can think of every human relationship of the people that we value. We've paid a price for every human relationship that we have that we really care about. Every object that we own, it's how all those things work. So hopefully that's helpful and answers your question.
Yes, it does.
Cool.
Can I ask you one more question?
I bet I know what the question's going to be. Go ahead.
Well, I recently I work with women.
Mm-hmm.
I have a ministry where I work with women.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 Saturdays ago, I did an empowerment session where I offered to help coach women with writing their books, actually publishing their books, and listing it on Amazon and giving them a free coffee mug. And after the meeting, I had several women that said they were very interested. And now I guess I need to know, do I have to wait till should I wait till I finish this life coach training before, I sit down and talk with them, or where am I at?
I don't recommend waiting, because I think that a lot of times when it comes to training and education in general, and here's what I find is true for most coaches. Most coaches are learners and really value training, but training in and of itself and education in and of itself can become its own barrier. How much will you ever get to know? And for me, I do believe, obviously, training is in the name of our school, so obviously we value it. I'm just really always concerned with coaches through the years, because I do continuing education every year. I've always applied myself as a coach to go to that. And when I sit in there, I find coaches who have plenty of training, but they don't have clients, because it's become its own barrier. They feel like, man, if I can have one more credential, if I can have one more thing, then people will want to work with me. And that never deals with that never helps your self-confidence. I've never found someone who went and got a lot of training and education, and it dealt with all of their insecurity issues. It might help some and tells you what directions, but there's still work. There's still a process. There's still me. I have to sit down with a client and actually have to help them. So what I say is, sooner than later, getting in front of clients, working with them. What happens is that when you work with people, you start having success that feeds your confidence, But then you also have challenges. You'll experience some failure. I still experience failure with clients to this day. And when it happens for me is that I find the places that I need to grow in. And if I go back for training or if I go back to learn something, I have something of experience that I can go and ask for someone. So getting that as soon as you possibly can. If those people are really, really interested, start having those meetings. Follow up, especially if that's already been a couple of weeks ago. I'd follow up, especially with those kinds of things, following up as quickly as you possibly can. The strategy that you used in that, it's one of the things in Jumpstart. I'm really big on multiple streams of income as a coach. It's fine if people only want to work with individuals, but with you having a skill set like you do, with all the things that you do, with being able to speak, being able to run a workshop or a seminar or something like that, those are really great strategies and ways of either creating another stream of income as a coach, or it's a informational session where you gave something to some people, and you'll find that some of the people in the crowd do end up working with you. So it's a brilliant way. It's a brilliant way to work, and I'd highly encourage you to continue to do those. Find a couple of topics that you know really, really well in that arena that you're talking about. Offer it. Show yourself a value when you serve people. In some capacity, they see who you are, they see you as an authority, and they want you to speak into their life on an ongoing basis. So I think it's great, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Yeah. What other questions do we have?
Well, while we're waiting, do you advertise your business as far as your coaching business any place?
I never have.
Okay.
And that's just me. There's some people who do. In Jumpstart, we show our coaches, because I'd say that most of our coaches work full-time and they've never done business before and they don't have money to spend on things. And I'll say this, I didn't have any money to have overhead expenses when I started my business. I was coming out of 2007, 2008, feeling the pain that everybody else did, because those were really, really hard times. So I didn't have access to any of those things to do it. I think that coaching is a relational business. Advertising can help in the sense of, oh, I've seen this person before. But I find referrals and building a network being much more powerful for us because it's a relational business and we are working through established relationships of trust, and we serve people. We show ourselves as an authority, and it opens the door for us. I'm not going to say that advertising doesn't help people at all, but I would say that some of the mass market things that people do and some of those things aren't really effective for coaches. And I know plenty of coaches that don't even have websites that are really, really successful at what they're doing, because once they meet people and they're working within their networks, then those people are opening the door and introducing them to other potential clients. So I've never advertised. I have done networking. I have been a part of a business club, business groups, different things like that. And I just found that helping those people and even giving them referrals, always there's a reciprocity factor that's involved there, where they want to set you up and they want to open up doors. You should be able to get your business up and going even first month and be bringing home 90% of what you make minimum. For me, my business has never had an overhead of more than, outside of the time that I did have an office for a while that I didn't find was really cost effective. But outside of that time when I had an office, my business never had an overhead of more than $150 a month, ever. So
My, good.
I like those margins personally because I don't have to work as hard as other people. So, all right. Any other questions that we have? I see that Rima asked a question. that she was curious if she could get a link to the recording. Yeah, we'll have the link available within like 24 hours after this session. So if you'd like a link to the archive, just send me an email, paul@ilifecoachtraining.com, and I'll make sure that you get that. I'm going to stick it in here one more time for everybody to be able to see. Awesome. Any final questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, no other questions, and we're gonna call this a session and into it. Let me remind you that if you haven't had the session, Coach Start Your Business Part-Time while you're still working full-time, it's an incredibly informative session. It's our number one workshop that we offer, and that's going to be same time next Tuesday. So if you're available during that time, I'd jump on the website and I'd get registered for that. It's a very good workshop that gets incredible response and ratings and everything else from people. So we'd love you to be a part of that. If there's anything that we can do to help you take your next bold step forward, we want to be able to do that. My name is Paul Dabdoo. I'm the founder of Life Coach Training Institute. I make it a point to respond to every email that I'm ever sent. So anything that we can do to help support you and move forward, we would love to be the people who help you get your certification if that's the next step for you and you believe that that's the next step for you in your business and that coaching is right for you. But any way that we can support you moving forward, we would love to be able to do it. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and have an amazing rest of your week.